Hello everyone, my name is Geoffrey Madatu Kalimag. I am a foreign worker in South Korea and I have been working here for about 4 years. South Korea began to accept foreign workers in 2004 and the number has been rising steadily. We work in various fields including manufacturing, construction, service, agriculture and fishery. South Korea achieved its economic development based on the manufacturing industry. So the country needs many manufacturing workers. For that reason, when you come to South Korea, there is a good chance that you will work in a manufacturing industry. Most of the time, the job is simple, but need to be careful because you will use machines and hazardous substances. In South Korea, we mostly do simple, repetitive work rather than manage other people or use professional knowledge. Doing simple and repetitive job can be boring, so you are likely to lose focus and sometimes it can lead to serious injuries. Machine-related accidents happen in a matter of a second. Because of the language barrier, you will often have difficulty understanding work instruction, and that can also lead to accidents later. As the number of foreign workers is growing, so are accidents that happen to foreign workers in South Korea. You came to South Korea for a better future, so you must want to go back home after working safely and in good health. You must be both excited and worried about working in South Korea, co-workers you will meet, and the job you will do. However, once you learn about Korean culture and work practices, you will be able to adopt any workplace and work safely. Now let's learn about working in Korea and ensure safety and work. There are many risk factors you can find in a workplace. For that reason, the South Korean law specifies obligations for both employers and employees to ensure safe workplace. According to the law, the employer must make sure that the employees will work without injury or illness. And if there is an industrial accident, the employer is obliged to pay and compensate for the accident until the employee can begin to work again. On the other hand, employees must follow safety and health-related rules specified by the law. These rules are called safety rules. And now we will look and learn more about these safety rules. To prevent injury and ensure convenience during work, it is important that you dress appropriately. If the company has a special dress code for employees, follow these dress codes. Otherwise, it is recommended you dress neatly. Wearing a head protection can keep your hair intact. This prevents any accident that can happen when hair gets stuck in the machine. Also, do not wear a scarf while walking, because it can also get caught in the machine. When you are walking, make sure to wear safety shoes and do not wear slippers or sandals, as this can be taken off easily or can cause you to trip or stumble on the slippery floor. Now that we know how to dress for safety, let's learn about the protective equipment. This refers to the types of equipment you put on to ensure personal safety. There are special types of protective equipment for each job. This could be a hard hat, goggles or safety eyeglasses, gloves, boots, aprons, or earmuffs. It needs to be in good condition and it should fit you comfortably. You need to know how to use it and you need to wear it properly. Safety helmet protects your head in case any object falls from above your head or if you fall from a higher place while walking. Take a look at this screen. On the safety helmet, you can see the Korean word 안전모. Let's read it slowly. 안전모. In any place we design, you must wear 안전모 Safety boots are called 안전화 in Korean. You wear these to protect your feet from any heavy or dangerous object falling on them, or in case you step on sharp objects, or to prevent electrical accidents. Safety gloves are called 안전장갑 in Korean, and mask is called 마스크 in Korean as well. Dust-proof mask is used in place where there is harmful dust, and gas mask is used when you work in a place where hazardous chemicals are used. When you work in a place without sufficient oxygen, you wear air-supplied respirator. Earplugs protect our ears from deafening noise, which is common in the workplace, while the goggles and face shield protect our eyes and face from harmful rays, dust, and strong heat. When you work in an elevated place, make sure to wear a harness and safety belt, and make it a habit to wear protective equipment. It might be a little uncomfortable, but keep in mind that you need to get used to it to prevent risk and avoid accidents. Do you know what these pictures that you can see in your workplace signify? These signs are called safety and health signs. They were designed in a simple and easy way for you to understand to prevent you from misjudging or make a mistake. Let's look at the marks. According to purpose, safety and health signs are classified into forbidden, warning, instruction, guidance, and authorized personnel-only signs. Let's take a look at what they represent. This red circle with a red line drawn across it means forbidden. It tells you not to do something because it is dangerous. This sign here means you cannot enter the place. What does this sign mean? You guessed it right. This means that you cannot use it, and this means smoking is prohibited. Signs like these are supposed to give you a warning about some risk factors. These signs are often found in a place where dangerous chemicals are used. They tell you to be careful because the chemicals can set fire, have toxicity, or cause skin irritation. What does this lightning symbol represent? It means you need to be careful because there is high voltage electricity. When you see a triangle sign with a yellow background, it means there is imminent danger, so you must pay attention. Please keep in mind, when there is a safety and health mark, it means there are risk factors in that place. More often than not, we can't predict danger in advance. Therefore, you need to pay attention to these signs and be careful to avoid any accidents. The machines you find in different parts of the workplace can easily cause accidents. How should we use them? There are different risk points for each type of machinery. These risk points can be classified into 6 types. Squeeze point means a space where squeezing can occur due to a moving part, such as fan in the machine, when doors are opening or closing, or between a wall and moving machine. Crush point is found in machines that move up and down or side to side to make a hole or cut something. Press is one of the typical machines with a crush point. Cutting point is the dangerous part of a rotating blade. It's found on a circular sewing machine, circular saw, hand grinder, and other machines that are used for cutting something. Nip point refers to a space between 2 rotating objects through which something can get stuck. Rolling machine is a typical example of it. And when the rotating objects rotate in opposite directions, something can be pulled in by the rotating force. The most common example of a tangential knee point is a bicycle chain. A belt or chain on the rotating object can pull you into the machine. Trapping point exists on a rotating object where your glove or work uniform can get stopped and pulled in. The rotating blade of the drilling machine is especially dangerous, as you can get easily hurt when you are near any of these dangerous points of a machine. Protection measures are required to protect you. All dangerous machines or tools must have protective or protection measures. For instance, a belt cover prevents the belt from pulling in people or other objects into the machine. A knife guard prevents workers from contacting sharp blades. When you are working with a machine, you must make sure protection measures have been taken. Also, every day before you begin to work, you need to check the machine and test it. Removing protection measures is like opening a door of a lion's cage. You cannot dismantle it or take it off just because it slows down or delays the work. If the machine behaves strangely or stops suddenly during the work, don't try to fix it yourself, but call the site manager, site safety manager, or your mentor. Never try to fix any machine on your own because you can seriously hurt yourself. Even if they move slowly, all dangerous points on the machine pose a great risk to your safety. Most manufacturing sites have a machine for transport, such as a crane or forklift. First, let's talk about forklifts, which are commonly used in many workplaces. Forklifts move heavy materials by carrying the load on the forks at the front. By moving the forks up and down, it can easily load and unload heavy materials. Because they are easy to use, forklifts are often used within industrial sites. They may look easy to operate, but they can also cause serious injuries and even death. The forks on the front are used for loading materials. They are not supposed to carry people. When working on a high place or an elevated place, workers often go on the forks and fall from them while working. If you need to go up, use a ladder. The most important thing here is be careful not to be hit by a forklift. While working, check around yourself to make sure you are not close to any worklift. Be careful not to run into a moving worklift when you are busily moving or running around it. Only qualified operators can drive a forklift. You can cause an accident if you try to operate it without the license. Once you get a license to operate a forklift, you can now drive, but make sure to check if the warning lights, alarm, or headlights work properly, and wear the seatbelt before driving. While driving, comply with the specified speed limit. And when you load the forks, it should not interfere with your sight. You cannot drive and change the direction with the forks raised up. If you notice any abnormality, stop the forklift immediately and notify the employer or safety manager. Now let's move on to cranes. Cranes are used for lifting and moving goods, and there are many different types. The most common types of cranes you see at a workplace are overhead traveling crane and hoist. The most important things for you to remember about cranes is that you can be hit by a moving crane, or that the freight that is being moved by a crane can fall on you. When a crane is moving, you should never pass below the object it is carrying. When you move around the crane, make sure to check the object that is being carried by the crane and people near the crane. In order to move heavy freight with the crane, we need to fasten a wire rope or chain on the objects, and this is called rigging. Because the rope can suddenly get cut or lifted freight can lose balance and fall, it is very important to learn how to fasten the ropes when working with a crane. When you work with a crane, you must wear safety helmet, shoes, gloves, and long-sleeve top to protect your wrist and hands. In general, 2 ropes are fastened to either side of the freight to lift it, and you need to make sure the balance is maintained. And also, attach protective cushions on the corners that come in contact with ropes in order to protect them from wearing. Do not hold wire ropes with hands or coil them. Instead, you need to roll them with your hands while pushing forward. When the crane lifts up the freight, it can swing and hit you. So, you should make sure there is enough space for you to move when you need to. Now, let's talk about electricity, which is commonly used in different parts in any workplace, is invisible, but highly dangerous. Electric shock refers to electric current passing through the body. Then, what can we do to prevent electric shock? First, do not touch any electric equipment that has a danger sign. If the machine requires any repair or inspection, call an expert. Unless you are one of the authorized personnel, do not enter the substation or electric room. When you work with electricity, make sure to wear protective equipment that prevents electric current. And when you use an electric switch, make sure to turn it on or off completely. After you finish the work, you must check if the switch is completely off and electricity is cut off. If there is any repair sign, do not touch the switch. You should never go near high voltage electrical installations such as high voltage power lines or transformers. And if you necessarily have to work near them, make sure to keep your body or pipe you are working on does not touch the charging section. If anyone gets electrical injury, do not touch the electrical equipment and first, cut off the electricity. And then, check the breathing and injury of the injured person and take him or her to the hospital immediately. In the workplace, there are many fire-related risk factors, chemicals and electricity, for instance. In order to prevent fire, you should not take any match, lighter, or other inflammable objects into a place where such things are forbidden. If you want to smoke, do it only in the designated area. Before commencing any work that involves fire, you must receive authorization of the manager, and you should never place any inflammable object on the site. After finishing the work, make sure to tidy up the place. And if you have used fire for welding and among others, it is important that you check the fire that has been completely put out. It is important to know where you can find the firefighting equipment and always keep in place. When using a fire extinguisher, first pull out the safety pin on the handle, turn against the wind, and aim the nozzle so that it points at the fire. Hold the handle firmly and squeeze the lever toward the fire. Here, make sure to sweep from side to side. If there is fire, scream to let others know and call 119. Until the firefighters arrive, you must follow the instructions of your boss and evacuate to a safe place. Now let's wrap up the lesson so far. Wear protective equipment. Check safety and health signs. Know the danger points of machines and check the protective measures. Do not operate a forklift or a crane unless you are qualified, and do not go near the vehicles during work. Be cautious about electrical shock and fire. Great! You remember them all correctly. Some of the chemical substances we use in the workplace cause serious or life-threatening problems to our health. Sometimes, people use highly toxic materials at work without knowing and go back home with damaged eyes, liver, and kidneys, and among others. To avoid these problems, it is important to read these signs carefully on the container label. These are called warning symbols. They are pictograms that tells you about hazard and risk of chemicals. Here, the container has chemical substance in it, and you can see the chemical information attached to it. When you look at it, you see a skull, and it somehow looks dangerous. And when you see these pictures, you must be very careful, because these chemicals are highly dangerous. The skull symbol indicates toxicity, and this symbol next to the skull means it can cause cancer or other problems in parts of our body organs. Of course, you need to be careful at all times, but when you see these two symbols, you must pay special attention while dealing with these substances. In some workplaces, they take chemicals from a large container into a smaller plastic bottles. When you do so, you must place a warning symbol because people can mistake it to be a beverage. If you get to work with chemicals, make sure to ask your boss what types of chemicals you will be working with. Also, make sure to wear specified protective equipment when handling chemical substances. And do not eat nor smoke with the hands right after working with the chemicals. Let's summarize the safety rules when you handle chemical substances. First, you must know what types of chemicals you are going to use and what toxicity they have. Second, make sure to close the lid firmly so that the chemicals will not be mixed with air. Third, make sure there is proper ventilation and the air is clean in your workplace. Fourth, wear personal protective equipment. Fifth, get a regular checkup. When you work with chemical substances, you must keep in mind these 5 safety and health rules. So far, we have been looking at safety rules in workplace. Then, what does an actual working site look like? Now, we will take a look around the sites where we will be working and check the risk factors we have been discussing so far. This is a factory where plastic products are made. This type of factories are most common workplaces for foreign workers in South Korea. To make plastic products, raw materials must be mixed as a specified ratio and synthesized into a desired shape. Then, what kinds of machines are used for making plastic products? This machine is called a hopper. It mixes raw materials of plastic and loads it on a hopper. When you work with a hopper, to prevent the materials from falling, you need to use a safety platform for loading work hopper, workbench, and non-slip ladder. Injection molding machines are used for melting plastic materials with heat and pressure and hardening them in a metal mold into a desired shape. When you take out the finished product or remove residues inside the mold, your hands can be crushed. Before starting the work, make sure that the safety door interlocking device is installed and works properly. and do not dismantle it on your own. If the machine starts malfunctioning, for instance, if the slide moves while the safety door is open, stop the machine immediately and inform the manager so that the machine can be repaired and used again. This is a car part factory. Different parts of a car are made in different factories, and these parts are used for making a finishing car. And this is one of the factories that manufacture a car part. When loading raw metal materials onto a press, workers often get hit by a moving part of the robot or get stuck in between structures. If the robot does not stop after you open the door, it can be very dangerous and you must notify the manager. Before inspecting or repairing a machine, make sure to put up the "Do Not Operate" sign. When dealing with a press machine, avoid holding the materials with hands and check if there are protective measures taken and they work properly. It is important to tidy up around the machine in order to prevent falling and other accidents. When you use a drill, you should never wear cotton gloves because a thread from the gloves can get stuck and pulled by the rotating section of the drill. You can lose your finger in a second. During the processing, welding is also frequently used. When you use a blowtorch to melt or cut a part of a reinforcing bar, the sparks can cause burn. Therefore, you need to put on a welding helmet, apron, and sleeves. The fume from welding can cause inflammation in your throat or lungs, so make sure to wear proper protective equipment, including face shield and mask. Also, gas leakage can cause explosion or fire. You must frequently check the hose coupling and overall status of the hose. After finishing the work, tidy up the gas hose, and before you leave the place, turn off the torch and gas valve. Today, we learned how to work safely and look at some of the actual workplaces. No matter where you end up working at, there are a few things you must check in advance. Is there someone who will teach you about the work process and safe use of the equipment? If possible, ask the person to demonstrate the working method. There must be someone who is responsible for making sure you are handling the machine properly with an appropriate working method. You must know if there are places you are not allowed and why you are not allowed. Learn in advance who is responsible for ensuring your safety and health and who you should call in case you need help. Make sure they provide proper safety and protection equipment. You must know where you can get first aid in case you get hurt or sick. In South Korea, the emergency number is 119. Learn how to call for help. You should know what you should do and where you should escape in case of emergency. The most important thing to remember while working is that you need to focus on your job. Do not check your phone or think about something else. If you are asked to use a machine you have not been taught how to operate, ask them to teach you. Otherwise, you can get injured. If you do not wear protective equipment, or rush, or try to take a shortcut, you can get into an accident. If you find something is not safe or can hurt you, stop walking and tell your mentor, supervisor, or co-worker. If you get injured even after trying to work in a safe manner, you must get first aid as quickly as possible and see a doctor immediately. If necessary, get a medical certificate and present it to your boss. You need to report the accident to your boss and fill out a document that is required for relevant investigation. You are supposed to write what happened and how you got injured. If you can, fill out this form before you go home. If you do not speak the language, ask for help. These records are important because they will help you receive compensation for the industrial accident and prevent other people from having the same accident. If medical costs incur and you cannot walk, you will probably receive help from the industrial accident insurance. Tell your boss as quickly as possible and make sure to fill out the document. If you get injured, don't think you are causing trouble to the company. Even if it was your mistake, you must record the accident and ask for help. The most important thing to you while working in South Korea is your safety. Following and practicing these basic safety rules will not only protect your life, but also protect the happiness of your family back home. Safety precautions necessary for performing safe work in Korea. You have just learned these precautions with me. It was also an informative time for me because this will help remind me to be careful at work. Although it could be a bit boring for you, I appreciate you all listening very carefully until the end. I feel very proud of myself for doing something for you to fulfill your work and return home safe and healthy. Lastly, I'd like to give some quiz so you can review what you have learned today. Here comes the first question. What is the following protective equipment called in Korean? That's right. It's called 안전모. If you learn how basic protective equipments are called in Korean, you will also be able to understand necessary work instructions immediately. Let yourself memorize how safety helmet, safety gloves, safety shoes, and such protective equipments are called in Korean in advance. Here's the second question. What does the following safety and health sign mean? The correct answer is number 1. It's quite confusing, right? Please remember that this sign indicates no driving forward in driving situations, but also indicates no entry in a workplace. Third question. What is the correct way of using this machine? The correct answer is number 2. Wherever you sense a bit of danger, you must call someone in charge, although you're busy and don't feel comfortable with asking for help. Do not handle anything by yourself. You must learn how to control new machines and keep yourself focused during work. Was the quiz a little difficult? If this quiz felt difficult for you, please watch this video once again, because this video contains very basic, important information that you have to be aware of. If you keep being interested in and paying attention to safety and keep trying to maintain safety, you will be safe anywhere at any time. What is more important than earning money? That's happiness from being with your family.